Every now and then, my thoughts drift towards the depths of Leah and Raymond Howard. When that happens, a multitude of questions usually start to plague my mind. What could have prevented their demise? Did they suffer? How many chances to save them are wasted? How many warning signs were there ignored? But that really pains me to not know it is how it all ended. On Sunday, June 29th, 1997, an elderly couple, Leah and Raymond Howard from Salado, Texas, decided they were going to a day festival in Temple, in a nearby town that it was to be a 15-mile trip, and Lela was driving. The couple departed that morning, despite their early objections by Lela's son, who had begged to drive his mother and father himself instead. Lela declined, saying, "No, we know where to go. We go every year." Lela's son's concerns stemmed at the fact that his 83-year-old mother was showing signs of Alzheimer's disease and was often really confused at things. One time, Lela ever meant to show up at a local Walmart for a morning coffee at 10:30 a.m., but instead arrived at 10:30 p.m. Perplexed as to why the sun was not up yet, 88-year-old Raymond was too showing signs of the mental disorientation due to the recent brain surgery done to combat a stroke and head injury. Lela and Raymond, although not aware of the severe mental decline, left for the festival that morning without even telling their adult son, who just lived next door. The afternoon had passed and the Howards didn't return home. However, at a local Walmart in Temple, a greeter remembered seeing Lela and Raymond coming in for coffee during the afternoon. After that, the couple's movements could not be accounted for. Several children between the two of them became immensely worried for the elderly parents' safety, so they contacted the authorities, and the missing persons bulletin was posted the day the Howards remained missing. 3 days later, on Wednesday, July 2nd, a newspaper article was published in the Austin American-Statesman about a missing couple, titled "Elderly Salado Couple Missing on a Trip to Nowhere." It read, "Lela and Raymond Howard are on a 4-day road trip into thin air. Central Texas couple in their 80s and still diminishing health. Somehow turned on a 15-mile journey for a cup of coffee into a party and into a 500-mile plus misadventure to no destination." That same day, a deputy in rural Arkansas pulled over Lela for driving with her headlights off as it was nighttime. Lela and Raymond were about 500 miles away from their original starting point in Salado, Texas. The deputy later noted that Lela was polite and gentle and acted just like my grandmother. When Lela stated that they were trying to get back to Texas, the deputy noted that they were heading in the wrong direction. If they were going to return to that state, so he gives them directions. The deputy then asked Lela where she lived, but she could not remember. The deputy laid them off with a warning, and the couple were pulled off again about a half an hour later for driving with their high beams on. This deputy also let them go. Neither of the stiff deputies knew about the newspaper article, nor that the Howards were missing persons. The Howards once again disappeared. The next day, on Thursday, July 3rd, there was another article about the Howards. They had allegedly been spotted at a farmer's market in Arkansas. The authorities in 11 states were on the lookout for them. On Friday, July 4th, another article stated that the authorities had narrowed their search to 3 specific counties in Arkansas. There were no further developments of the search until Wednesday, July 9th, when the couple's story was covered by CBS This Morning on the Morning News. Yet another newspaper article was published about the Howards of the Austin American-Statesman, making the front page. That article's editor, Denise Gamo, was stopped by the Howards' house, and the signs of the couple's mental decay were obvious. There were folded clothing still lying on the couple's bed, as if they started packing for some sort of long trip. The television was unplugged and hearing aids were left behind in the bathroom, as well as various toiletries. Even though the month was currently July, the Howards' calendar on the wall was still on the page for February. Perhaps most notably, the Howard's cat Happy was left behind, essentially abandoned. The couple's children and grandchildren were apparently unaware of how bad their parents' mental health had become. The search intensifies as the authorities employed dozens of deputies, careful crumbled throughout the obscured back roads and near bush areas, posted feelers, and questioned any civilians over the large area. Helicopters were even later used in their search, and the search grew to about 1,000 miles from Salado, Texas, and then by one of the Howard's grandson offered a reward of $1,000 for his grandparents' safer return. Tips came into the flooding after CBS morning show, but it led to the Howard's discovery. The next day, on Thursday, July 10th, one of the Howard's grandchildren remarked the newspaper article. The hardest part is thinking that they are suffering or need us and can't go to get them. Another bleakly stated, I just don't think we're going to find them alive now. Unfortunately, everyone's worst fears were finally realized on July 12th, on Saturday, when the bodies of Lela and Raymond Howard were discovered by their car by hikers at the bottom of a 25-foot cliff, just outside of Hot Springs, Arkansas. Raymond was still in the passenger seat, but Lela was about 20 feet away from the ravine, still clutching to her purse and car keys. Apparently, after the car went off the cliff, she put her car in park and turned off her headlights, opened the passenger side door for her deceased husband, and crawled out of her way and died of her injuries from sustaining the crash. There were no kinds of skid marks found at the top of the cliff, indicating that Lela's car had driven straight off the ledge. A crash scene. An investigator estimated that the car had been going around 50 miles per hour on the search of a road leading up to a cliff. Lela likely didn't see the cliff edge, or was in some way distracted, or even became momentarily confused, and lost the ability to safely drive. It is not known for them how long the Howard's bodies remained undiscovered. Sadly, the crash site where Lela and Raymond's bodies were found within a zone previously searched by the authorities, but the searchers could not see the bottom of the cliff due to the access bush in their line of sight. Lela and Raymond were later buried next to their respective spouses. Austin, Texas songwriter Tony Skazlo read the July 2nd newspaper article in the Austin American-Statesman in the Mid-States for the search of Lela and Raymond. He later became inspired. He wrote a song with his alternative rock band Fastball, based on Lela and Raymond's disappearance. It was titled Away. About the song, Skazlo said, it's a romantic take on what happened. Skazlo pictured them taking them off and having fun, and what they did when they first met. Skazlo wrote this song before the Howard's bodies were discovered. The album containing The Way, All the Pain and Money Can Buy, was later released in 1998, 1 year after the Howard's bodies were found. Despite The Way's cheerful, optimistic sound, the lyrics as haunting. They made up their minds and they started packing. They left behind the sun that came up that day. An exit internal summer slacking. But where they're going without knowing the way. They drank up the wine and got to talking. They now had more important thing to say. And when the car broke down, they started walking. Where they were going, they ever know the way. Anyone could see the road that they walked is paved in gold. And always this summer, they'll never get cold. They'll never get hungry. They'll never get old and gray. You could see their shadows wandering off somewhere. They won't make it home, but they really don't care. They wanted the highway. They're happy where they are today. Today. Their children woke up and couldn't find them. They are left behind before the sun came up that day. They just drove off and left it all behind them. But where are they going, Wayne, without knowing the way? My thoughts again return to Lela and Raymond Howard, barreling off of that cliff in Arkansas. Unfortunately, I never seemed to get any answers for my questions. I suppose that I can only guess. Maybe Lela had seen the cliff edge, but didn't have enough time to react. I wondered if even that mental faculties and to function anymore. It leaves me thinking, what was it going through their heads as their car plunged off the cliff? Fear? Confusion? I like to think otherwise. Perhaps it was that moment. It wasn't 1997 anymore. Maybe it was a much earlier time for them. Maybe their damaged psyches spared them from sad reality. Perhaps in that moment for Lela and Raymond, there were no more medications, no more hearing aids, no more doctor's appointments, no aching joints, no glasses, no operations, no pace markers, no forgetting, and no more confusion. Maybe at that moment for their entire trip, Lela and Raymond saw themselves as a newlywed couple, and their young skin perpetually gleaming in the summer's sun. Lela in her best white wedding dress, and Raymond in his finest black tuxedo, maybe envisioned as a just married sign, hanging on the back of their rear window, and empty soup cans tied to the rear bumper. I wonder if they held hands. Maybe when Lela and Raymond Howard drove off out the cliff of Arkansas in 1997, they weren't scared. Maybe they were just smiling.